In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a simple table here underneath based on the data we have here above. But as well, if we hide one of these, it will only show the ones that is related to it. And of course, if I add it back, they will show all nicely back again. So let's start to look how to create a table on the xScale in chart.js form. First of all, make sure you have the boiler template here like this, which you can find on chartjs3.com getting started. This link is as well in the description box. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. If you want to get the source code of this video or many others, check out my Patreon page. And of course, we have a Discord channel. Join the channel and ask your questions there. So what we're going to do here, we have this here. I want to have, first of all, a second data set in here. And we can just say this will be the cost. And then what I will do is I'll make this the black one, and this will be black. Let's remove everything else. And the upper one, or we have a red bar and a black bar. So make sure that this is the sales. Save this, refresh. There we are. So we're going to stack them because that was one of the related questions. So we're going to say here stacked equals true. Make sure you have a comma here. And then we have here the xScale, and here we're going to say here stacked equals true, comma here, save, refresh. There we are. So what we want to do now is add these numbers, whatever we have here, below as well. And well, let's start with that. So to do this, I'm going to use a different trick here, and we're going to say here x number x0, and I'm going to call this x0 because this is for data set 0, or the first data set here, where we're going to show these values of the red ones. So what we're going to do here, once we have this, we're going to say here in the ticks, what I want to do here in the ticks, well, we just leave this for now. Then what I will do here is we're going to say here x0, this will be related with, well, let's save it and just see how this looks. There we are, we get something. What I want to do now is remove the grid lines because we have no extra grid lines, we don't need them. So I'm going to say here grid display false, save that, refresh. There we are. So we remove those, but what I want to do here is these here, these need to be converted into numbers, which we will do in I'm not sure, I think in the ticks. That's correct, it should be in the ticks. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say callback. And then I'm going to say here, we're going to use a function. I'm going to use a function here on purpose. And the reason why is we're going to use the this value, and that can only be used if we have function. You could say, well, what about this? Like this structure here, that's not possible. And then, so what I'm going to say here, the value and the index here. And what I want to do here is the following. I want to get a value, what I can call here, let's make a console log. Let's get the value first and just see what we are getting out of it. We get here the numbers, which is all great, but these numbers is related to the index number only. And I don't want that. I want to get the value of 18, 12, etc, etc. So to do that, what I need to do here is in the value, I need to go into the chart object. So if I do that, alright, so it doesn't work here. What I need to do here, hold on, let me double check. Alright, sorry, of course, what I need to do here is go into the this value, because I need to go to the chart object from this. So if I do that, there we are. Now we have access to this, and what I need to do now is just getting the data information here. So if I go down here somewhere, we should find eventually, maybe not even here, what I will do is, I'm going to say dot, I'm going to say here, get data set meta index 0. That's the function I want to use. So we're getting the value of the specific data set. And what I want to do here is just get these values here. As you can see here, we get the data, and then you're going to use this underscore here. Should you use that? It depends. Some people say it's probably not the best way to do it. And the reason why is that if you use an underscore here in the namespace, it would mean that chart.js maintainers might remove this eventually because they're looking for a more efficient way. So far I have no other way to do it, or maybe there are better ways, but we'll take this one for now, but at least you are aware what we're grabbing. So we're grabbing here this specific value, and then what I want to do here is, where do I need to go in the data, and we get then here all the data that we need. If I do this, save, refresh, and there you are. It just took a second to load, and then it grabs all of these values. So what I want to do now is, I just want to return basically the values in here. So I'm going to grab this, going to return this, but this will return the entire object. I don't want that. I only want to grab the index in this case. Let's say here index, save, refresh. There we are. So now we have this, but of course if I hide it, it doesn't work yet. We're going to work on that later on. Let's build the next one. That's the black one here. And to make it much better, I will make sure for the cost, I'll just change the numbering so we have a clear different value here. So then what I will do is just the same logic, almost the same. Well, it's basically identical. We're going to say here x1 for dataset number 1, and just grab all of this, put it in here. But of course here this is not dataset 0 but dataset 1. Save that, refresh. Alright, we get an identifier on 108. Let's see what is on 108. There we are. I forgot the comma here, my bad. Save that, refresh. There we are. So now we're getting the values of 3 as well. So what I want to do next is start to change certain items in here. And what I want to do is that if we are hiding this, I want to make sure that the hiding will react along with our table underneath. So how can we do that as well? For this, we need to start to look how can chart.js search if something is hidden, yes or no. Luckily, we already have a lot of information here, but what we will work if we are hiding this, I want to hide these labels or these ticks. So basically in the ticks, I need to say here, display equal false. If I save that, refresh, you can see that it's hiding. But of course, it should not be hidden right now. But this is the part we need. And let's go up here first to index 0. We're just going to start working on that. Put a comma and say here for the display here. But now in this display, I'm going to use a function again. And in this case here, our function, well, just the same item. And let's see here, hold on, let me just be sure. Alright, I am correct because I need to stay outside of the callback. So that means in here, that's fine. Alright, then we say index. And then what I need to do here is get the value. So in this case, we're just getting the same value, but I'm going to show you exactly what we need. Again, we're going to use the this chart, and we can just grab all of this information here, put that in there, save, refresh. We get undefined. Alright, get dataset meta of this. Let me double check. So here I'm noticing I'm getting this error here related to the this. So probably it's outside of the callback functionality, and it gives me an error. I don't understand why. However, we have another way to access the specific item by saying here value. That's what I want to do here above, but apparently that can only be done in the display. So then if we're really doing this, the function here could be used a shorthand. I'm just going to make the shorthand here then, and then have a function error expression like that, and then refresh. There we are. So what happens now is it gives us basically the basic data, but then what I want to do here is I want to say a dot hidden. Is the item hidden, yes or no? So by default, it is null. But if I start to change this, you can see here it's set on true. And if I do again, it will set on false. So on initial load, it is null because it has not checked it, because it will always assume it's showing. But then, once we click on it and hide it, it starts to work nicely. So what I'm going to do now, this knowledge here is very useful for me. So what I'm going to say here, constant, let's give it a meta equals that. Alright. So what I want to do here is return meta equals, well, this is an if statement, I guess. So we're going to say here, if false, or on initial load, meta equals null. In that case, set on true, meaning it is I guess it's showing or it's hiding. Sorry, am I correct? Yeah, it should be like that. Or if it's true, hidden, then null should be true. Well, I have to double check that one. It should be, if it's false, hidden should be false as well. But let me just confirm these items here. So alright, so it just works here. So I guess my logic, what I want to say is very simple, is if it's hidden, set on false. Oh, alright, if it's hidden false, then we set this on true, or else on false. Alright, I'll accept it because it works, but probably I'm misunderstanding it here, or I'm just seeing something slightly different. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is we have this here. I want to do the same, of course, for the other item. Going down here, just say here for the display. Let's save that, refresh. There you are. If I hide these, and of course this doesn't work yet. Why? This should be index number 1. There we are. So now we got that. There we are. If I hide both of them, look what happened. Well, it shows the labels. Everything else is hidden except for the border. So I need to use the same logic for the border as well. So I'm going to say here border display, and the border display will have the same logic. So what I'm going to do is just grab this part here, just put it in there, index number 1, and let's copy this and go here, oh well, including the border. And that one was after this, so a comma here, but make sure we have a comma there. Put this on index 0, and then here border should be comma on the after the grid. Alright, save, refresh. Click on this. Now it hides it nicely. So now we have everything working, but let's test it if we have a huge amount of data. We're going to work on that as well, because that needs to be considered as well. So we're going to comma, let's paste this to, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm adding 5 times additional. So there's total set of 6. So here, that's the first set, and then say here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, that's 6 data points. Then here, what I want to do is copy all of this. I'm going to say again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 6 sets here as well, and now we get a massive amount of numbers and a massive amount of data. And here comes the real challenge. What about all of these items here? And I do see here, I thought the grid lines were hidden, so let's hide those grid lines again. Copy that. I guess it's somewhere in the X. Alright, there we are. So what I want to do now is start to make sure that these numbers are properly matching, because you can see here now this one is able to do, or it fits every one of them. But of course we want to make sure that those would be aligned properly with the ones that only make sense. So what I'm going to do here is in the ticks, we're going to say here the max limit, or sorry, max ticks limit. And the max ticks limit will give us the option to control how many ticks we're seeing at a time. I'm going to say here function arrow expression, put that in there. Alright. Then what I want to do here is we want to grab what is the amount of ticks we have, where exactly, from the upper scale, the X scale, which has the labels. So to do that, I'm going to say console log, and in the console log we're going to start going step by step to a specific place, where is the X scale value, or where we can count how many ticks we have. Alright, we're getting these arrays here. Alright, I guess that's the console log in the callback. Let's delete all of this excess data. We don't need that here as well. Save that, refresh. Alright, so then we're going down, we go to the scales, and this scales here is going to the X0 scale, which makes sense because it's the ID is X0. That's what we've given it. However, what I want to do is I want to go to the X scale, the first one. So how to do that? Well, basically I can use the following trick to go up one level from our existing place. That's here. From value we say dot chart, and what that really does is it jumps us back to the chart object, and from here we can continue on going back into the right location, which is basically from there we can say it dot scales dot x instead of x1. And if I do this, you can see here we get the category access, we get the ID which is x, and we get the ticks where we can see here all of the labels. So what I want to do here is just grab the length. I want to know how many ticks we are seeing here. So what I'm going to do here is just say how do you get there? Ticks. Alright, so that's the one I need to do. So I say here dot ticks, save that, refresh. Alright, then I can say here dot length. I'm just going to calculate with the length method how many array values we have or how many ticks. So we can say here now return this value, save that, refresh. Of course you don't see any difference because this one was identical, but what about the lower one? So what I'm going to do is copy this, go here in the ticks, paste it in there, save, refresh, and now it starts to align nicely. That is absolutely phenomenal. So now we have this part here. If I hide this, this all works, but then we have still, well, if I hide both, alright, that looks fine. So now we have the final item here. What I would say is also important is if we change the max value here. So let's say here, or the min value. We're going to say minimum is value of index 5. So that will mean it would jump to Friday probably, or Saturday as you can see here. And Saturday has a value of 3 by 3, and this is not aligned because what's happening here, we're getting the same value as index 0. So to do this, I need to make sure that the item here gives us a value basically in the callback. We can say instead of index, we can just grab this value here, whatever the value is. We can just double check this value, save that, refresh, and you can see here 96, is that correct? The value, I'm not fully sure about this. Well, let's put it in there and see what happens. There we are, our 18. Okay, not yet, probably because I need to put in here the min value equals to 5 as well. Save that, refresh. Alright, and as I do this, you can see it start to match the value nicely. Down here, we need to check this as well. So what I can do here, I can copy this, go down, put it in here, and then we can say here for this index, that index is grab the value. There we are. So what I want to do now is softcode this very item here, and basically we're just going to use a callback functionality. You can just say here value comma index, although I think we don't even need the index, but we'll just leave it as it is. Then in here, let me just check, can we get a value? Alright, that is not the case because we're missing a parentheses here. Alright, that's double parentheses here because we have one here and one there. Save, refresh. Alright, this works. It just gives us the chart. But what I want to do now is in this chart object, I want to go to the scale. So I go into chart, chart.scales.x. Let's see if we can get there. There we are. We are in here, and let's get the min value. There we are. We're just going to extract that one, put it in there, and then it should all work nicely. Let's cross-check that by saying here return, because you can see here it starts on 5, if I'm correct, or it should start on 5. The min value, just return this specific value, save, refresh. Alright, I'm not 100% certain if that worked well. Let's do a console log here. Do I have any other consoles here? Oh, this one I can delete. Just get this. Undefined. Oh, alright. So we got a challenge here. I need to check that. So after some testing, I realized that what I want to do with using a function is absolutely not possible. So what I need to do is slightly different here. Is what I'm going to do is a hoisting. What I'm going to do here is we're going to say here let value, and then to say here x min equals or nothing at all. So then what I will do here, the min value, I guess this will be 5. So we can say here, let me test this if this will work. Well, I'll just put it 5. I guess that will be this will make the most sense here. We can probably make a function for that where we can change that. So say put that in there, put this in here, paste that in there, and I'm going to say here for the min value same thing. Alright, put a comma here, and then here as well for the x1. There we are. So now we have that all nicely. Let's cut that all the way to anything else. We're going to say here instead of 5, this will be 15. Save. There we are, and that should be Tuesday, 12 and 3, 6, 9, 12, and it's all confirmed. And that's basically how we can create one that will also nicely change and update the table once we hide or show a specific item.